Now, the opportunity of calling into the program and ask questions from our guest on the topic of discussion. On Tuesday evening, 18th of March 2025, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu declared a state of emergency in Rivers State in a nationwide broadcast. Citing the need to restore law and order, President Tinubu announced the suspension of Governor Siminalayi Fubara, his deputy, Mrs. Ngozi Odu, and all elected members of the House of Assembly of Rivers State for an initial 6-month period. President Tinubu announced the nomination of retired Vice Admiral Ibokete Ibas as the Rivers State Administrator to steer the affairs of the state. A few hours after the declaration, soldiers took over the Rivers Government House in Port Harcourt. In many parts of Port Harcourt metropolis, residents and motorists were seen rushing home to their families immediately after the news of the state of emergency filtered in. People were also seen on the street discussing the latest issue, as some residents expressed dismay over the announcement and blamed the political actors for what happened. Now, in his broadcast, President Tinubu said he was disturbed by the unfolding events in the state, which appeared to have defied political solutions, stalled development and progress, and denied the people of the state the dividends of democracy. The president clarified that the emergency declaration did not affect the judicial arm of Rivers State and will continue to function in accordance with its constitutional mandate. Now, according to him, the administrator will not make any new laws, but is free to formulate regulations as may be found necessary to do his job. But such regulations will need to be considered and approved by the Federal Executive Council and promulgated by the President for the state. Now, the declaration came few hours after President Tinubu summoned an emergency meeting with his service chiefs, the Inspector General of Police at Aso Rock Presidential Villa, following double blast of 2 different oil pipelines in Rivers State. The meeting, which began at about 3 p.m., was attended by the National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu, the Directors General of the State Security Service, Mr. Adiola Ajayi, and the National Intelligence Agency, Mohammed Mohammed. Also in attendance were the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, Senate Leader Akpayemi Bamidele, Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, Deputy Speaker, Benjamin Kalu, and other top government officials. Now, while we go on a break, we will open the phone line shortly, and that's 0704-425-2109, 0704-425-2109. You can also send WhatsApp messages to 0907-224-5018, 0907-224-5018. We're live on YouTube and on Facebook at High Impact 102.1 FM and at High Impact Studios. You can also watch us live on High Impact TV on Iconsat 42 Degree East. We'll take a breather now, and when we return, we'll continue with the conversation. Please stay tuned.
On record.
Every word matters.
The best music, the best people.
Radio 102.1 FM. The future is now.
Do you know bad production can kill a great content idea?
Do you want to have a photo shoot, audio production, or do you need a professional voiceover artist?
Do you simply want unmatched cinematography, video production, or just event coverage, such as weddings, birthdays, or burials?
Or do you need a space for meetings or conferences? All these are possible with High Impact Studios. Don't bring down your creativity. Let's help you take it high
and out of this world with our state-of-the-art equipment and first-class studio space.
We give you the quality you deserve at the best rate.
For more details, call 0706 393 5694 or 0915 958 1881. High Impact Studios, the future.
Tease your taste buds from a world of delectable choices. High Impact Planet. Fun just got real.
Welcome back to On the Record, where every word matters on High Impact 102.1 FM. I am Olumide Shokoya. Don't forget to join the conversation. You can call 0704 425 2109. 0704 421 21. I beg your pardon, 0704 425 2109. Or you can send WhatsApp messages to 0907 2245018 0907-2245018. We're live on Facebook and on YouTube at High Impact 102.1 FM and at High Impact Studios, and you can also watch us live on Nikonsat 42 degree east. Today we will be looking at the state of emergency in Rivers. We are hoping to get two guests on the line this morning. Joining us via phone call, we have Folusho Olakpo. He is a public affairs analyst. Good morning, Folusho Olakpo. Lagos is fine. How is Ibadan? How is your state?
We are fine. We are fine. Thank you very much.
All right. We hope to get Steve. All right. Okay. We have Steve Aya also. Steve Aya. He is a journalist with This Day newspaper. Good morning, Steve. Welcome to the program.
Good morning to you. How are you today?
I'm fine. And how are you?
I'm wonderful.
All right. Before we dive into the topic for today, let me start by asking Folusho Olakpo, what was your take on the president's address regarding the state of emergency? What was your reaction? What thoughts came into your mind?
I didn't see that coming. Really, I did not, and it's pathetically disheartening to see that Rivers has descended that low, and there's no other measure to be taken except to declare a state of emergency. It's not something that is really good, especially in democratic dispensation. In fact, even though it is constitutional and legal, but it's one thing that is really used. It's an instrument of law that is really used, and no one even prays for it to be used, even in the country or even in a state. But of course, it has come. It's a constitutional instrument vested on Mr. President to use, especially when things seems to be descending to abyss. Whether or not the state of Rivers or Rivers State is descending that low, and things can no longer be at peace, is subjective. And that is why it appears to be the people are singing discordant tunes in respect of that action yesterday.
All right.
But of course, everyone should know that Mr. President's action, especially declaring the state of emergency, is legal, constitutional, and lawful. But whether
we'll get to that. We'll get to that. All right. Steve Aya, let me ask you also. What was your take? What was your reaction Did it come to you as a shock?
Yes, it is. It came to me as a shock. I surprised. I do not believe that the state of emergency is about the last resort you can do to sort out this problem. But the president probably, as far as I'm concerned, decided to look for the... But anyway, it's a monster that he has created himself and his political party. So let them sort it out the best way they go.
Thank you very much. Now, so over to you, Folusha Olakwa. I wanted to get a legal mind on this because we need to let our listeners to be well informed about the Constitution and every other thing about it. So my first question to Folusha Olakwa. Now, the Nigerian Bar Association has said the president, does not have the constitutional powers to unilaterally remove an elected president. Now, what's your thought on this? Now, two, can you clearly, because the president acted on Section 305 of the 1999 Constitution, which states that if the president must declare a state of emergency, it must be transcended on the government's gazette, which the Senate, both the upper and the lower chamber, must approve. It takes 2/3 of them to approve this particular state of emergency. So can you clearly highlight the Section 305 for us to understand and determine whether he truly acted on the Constitution?
Yes, of course, Mr. President acts constitutionally. He has the power to do it according to that section of the law. It was the Constitution provided that after the declaration, the declaration must be gazetted and published.
Yes.
And after the publishing, where the National Assembly is in session, within 2 days, it should be transmitted to the National Assembly, and within 2 days, the National Assembly should either approve or disapprove it, or disapprove it. To approve it, we have it must be supported by 2/3 majority of both houses. So in that case, where 2/3 majority of both houses supported it, then to that extent, that declaration goes on. But if they did not, then that would be the end of that declaration. It will not see the light of day. Things will come back to the status to what it was before. But if it is supported, like I said, it goes on. Now, another thing is that you asked is that...
Folusha Olakwa, sorry to come in there. Now, this particular House sitting and all that, is it before the declaration of state of emergency or after the state of declaration of emergency?
It is after.
It is after. Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah, because probably I think the drafters of the Constitution believe that as an emergency, Mr. President may not be able to access the House before, so as to put things in place before everything becomes a state of anarchy. I think that was it. The Constitution says it is after the declaration is published, then you should transmit that to the National Assembly for approval. So, and that is why it stated that if the National Assembly is in session, within 2 days they must give their approval or disapproval. And if they are not in session, within 10 days they must do the needful. So it is after Mr. President has declared that. That is the provision of the Constitution.
Does it give the president the ground to remove or suspend an elected governor and his deputy?
Yeah, in fact, if you are attentive or if you are on social media, since that yesterday evening, the social media have been agog, especially regarding some people acting for and against, while some people arguing for against. But to me, I think, given by the provision of the Constitution, unfortunately, the Constitution was silent about the implication of the declaration of state of emergency in a state. It didn't say the consequences. So whether the state governor or the state assembly should be removed or not. And it is silent too about yes, like I said, it's silent about the implication. What is it now? What anybody can think of now is, because that section 305 said according to this constitution, and when the constitution is saying according to this constitution, it means that the provisions of the constitution must be followed per se. Now let me take you back to the time the former president Obasanjo declared a state of emergency in Plateau State. The defense of Mr. President then was that it would be incongruous, or it would be an aberration for there to be a state of emergency and the state assembly will be in session. That it will be the state assembly will be disturbing the state of the affairs of that state of emergency, and that the governor too, acted that he did not inform him before traveling outside the country that he had committed to Mr. President then probably an offense. So you see that all these are some sort of an extension probably of the constitution, which cannot happen. It's only the court that can decide whether whether it's incongruous or not incongruous, or whether a person, Mr. President, has the power under that section to remove a governor. But from the wordings of the constitution, the president does not have that power to remove any elective civil authorities in that government, in that state. So, for instance, even the section, I think section 217 of the Constitution, talking about the armed forces, it says that the armed forces in quelling insurrection should do it in the aid of the civil government in that state. So, meaning that since the reason for this declaration is because there is a feud between the assembly and the governor, then to that extent there should have been a way of trying to douse that tension within even the emergency. So the president, to me, may have acted ultra vires. He has gone beyond his power to declare to suspend both the governor and the state assembly.
Thank you very much, Folusha Olakpo. Now, Steve Aya, I'd like to ask you this question. Now, during President Tinubu's declaration of emergency, he said Governor Siminalayi Fubara did not take any action after the vandalization of pipelines by some militants, to curtail them. Now, so my question now is, let's look at it more holistically. Does Governor Fubara wield such power to stop militants? I mean, he is referred to as the security officer of the state, but does he really have that power to stop vandalism? And is that enough grounds, to suspend an elected governor and his deputy? I mean, comparing other states with insecurity, high level of insecurity, Borno State and the rest of them.
Let me start by saying that like I said, this is the murky waters that the president and his ruling party and elite have created. So they have to dance on it, and let's see how far it carries the nation. It's rather unfortunate that the ruling party and the president are so desperate to have their hands on Rivers State that they are willing to do everything and all things possible to just get their hands on the state politically. It's rather unfair and unfortunate. It shows that the politicians that we have today are only interested about themselves. They are not interested about the welfare of the people. They don't care about whatever happens to the people. Now, why am I saying this? I am saying this pointing to the fact that the president himself has once been a governor, and he had once had to handle or tackle crisis. And he has been one of those people. I'm coming. He has been one of those people that have complained to the fact that when you say the state governor is the chief security officer of a state, it's just a title, it's just a name. Because the apparatus of governance in terms of security does not fall in the hands of the governor. It still lies with somebody in Abuja. And then, in fact, if I may take you back a little on this double standard thing that I'm trying to talk about, I will refer you to an article published by the president when he was still the opposition leader in 2013, in May 2013, after President Goodluck Jonathan, then President Goodluck Jonathan, declared a state of emergency in Borno State and Yobe State. And in their own case, it wasn't a political thing. It was because the governors were unable to control the advancement of Boko Haram and the other militants around that area. And when Goodluck Jonathan did that, the current president wrote a very powerful public condemnation of almost 15 paragraphs. If you go back, if you are able to trace that and you read that, you will now ask yourself, sir, is it the same thing? Are you just telling us that for a pipeline that was burnt on Monday, while the governor was still trying to meet with security chiefs on Tuesday to find out how the best way to do it, you will not come in with a state of emergency? Is that the best way out? Shouldn't there be another way out? I mean, when you see these handwritings on the wall, you begin to know that, look, it's just not right. It's not all right. It's not it at all. I think the president is wrong, and he should be told that he is wrong.
All right. So another question I would like to also ask is, what do you think the people of Rivers State, how would they see how would they read meaning? How would they be able to interpret what is happening in Rivers? Do you think this might create tension in Rivers State, or would there be some sort of relief in Rivers State?
Well, there is no question of how. The people will have to live with it. One thing that is so certain about us Nigerians is that a large number of Nigerians actually are peaceful people. They don't like all this political gangsterism that is going on and all those things like that. So people will just have to find a way out and say, okay, well, they are the ones doing what they are doing, so let them do whatever they want to do. Let's have our lives and go on with it, because the basic necessity of a Nigerian, of the life of a Nigerian as of today, is how to pay his bills, how to get his family and loved ones well fed, and they are done. They are not really interested in the political class or whatever the political class does, because the political class on its own have turned themselves into demigods. So there's nothing you can do. The court is not on your side. The electoral system is not on your side. You don't even know if you cast your vote is counted. So nothing seems to be on the side of the people. So the people are just like, you people do your own thing, let's do our own thing, and everybody goes to rest.
Thank you very much, Steve Aya. We'll quickly go on a short break, and when we come back, we'll continue with the program. Please stay tuned.
On record.
Every word matters. What is life?
Welcome back to On Record, where every word matters on High Impact 102.1 FM. We're still discussing the state of emergency. Don't forget, you can also call in by calling 0704 425 2109, 0704 425 2109. Or you can also send WhatsApp messages to 0907 224 5019, 0907 224 5018. You can also watch us live on Nikonsat 42 Degree East. We're live on YouTube and on Facebook at High Impact 102.1 FM and at High Impact Studios. So my question goes to Folusho Olakpo. Now, President Tinubu has appointed President Tinubu said the appointed administrator can make regulations, and that the Federal Executive Council, of course, would make these laws and henceforth be able to implement some of these laws, but it would also be approved by the Federal Executive Council. So, but some people now, some legal experts are saying that Section 11 of the same Constitution says that under a state of emergency, only the National Assembly can actually make any laws or implement any laws. But about this, in Tinubu's speech yesterday, he said that the Federal Executive will be empowered to make certain laws. Is this not an infringement of the Constitution?
Hello?
Folusha, did you get what I said?
I didn't get the last. You said you are talking about the making laws for regulations for the state.
Yes. During President Tinubu's speech yesterday, he said that the administrator can make regulations. He can't make new laws, but he can make regulations, and that laws will be made and transmitted to the Federal Executive Council henceforth. But the same Section 11 of the Constitution says that only the National Assembly can make laws in a state of emergency. So isn't this some sort of contradiction here and there? Or what's your thought on this?
I am not sure Section 11.4 expressly mentioned in a state of emergency.
Okay.
What that section states was that if in a situation where the House is unable to sit, yes, of course, a state of emergency may be extended to mean that the House cannot sit, especially because Mr. President had sacked it. It would appear that would have been a better thing to do.
No, I'm talking about the National Assembly.
Yes, I understand. I'm saying we are saying the same thing.
Okay.
I'm looking at the situation because the Constitution said where the House is unable to sit.
To sit, okay.
And I'm saying that since Mr. President sacked that House, it would it may suggest that House is unable to sit for the National Assembly to be able to make laws for it. Now, let me read the proviso of that Section 11.4.
Okay.
It said, provided that nothing in this section shall be construed as conferring on the National Assembly power to remove the governor. Okay. So it's stated, let me read subsection 5 of it.
Okay.
For the purposes of Section 4, subsection 4 of this section, a House of Assembly shall not be deemed to be unable to perform its function as long as the House of Assembly can hold meeting. So now, since they cannot hold meeting and they cannot transact their statutory business, then it may suggest that actually the National Assembly should take over the function of making laws for the House. But in this is what I'm trying to say in this presentation, that of course that argument might be right, but since the head of government in that state is no longer a civilian. It's like Rivers State is in a state of military rule. That's what it suggests now, and because it's only the judiciary.
Yes.
That is the only democratic organ that is functioning
yes.
in that state now. So to that extent, we might not say that the National Assembly should be making laws for that state, because probably the sole administrator's function does not cover making new laws and doing new things. And as Mr. President said that expressly, that the administration is not going to make a new law, but probably a regulation, where that regulation must be signed off by the Federal Executive Council. It still goes back to the basis, the fact that Mr. President, exceeded his power in dissolving both the State Assembly and the executive. You remember when former President Ebele Jonathan,
yes,
declared a state of emergency in Adamawa, Borno, and I think Yobe. Yeah, both the state houses were still on ground, and the governors too were not touched. So I think that is how it should have been done. But in this case, since we have an administrator, since it's not going to make any law in respect of that, let's see how it panned out. To me, I think people concerned in Rivers should, approach the court for the interpretation of that Section 305, so that we can know so that we can no longer be going to and fro, doing the same, repeating the same thing in the same way and expecting a different result.
Which brings me to my next question. What are the options for Siminalayi Fubara right now? Can he challenge this in court?
Of course. In fact, I am referring to him directly, or the House. Either of them can approach the court for the interpretation of that section, so that at least it will be put on rest what that section stipulates, and whether or not Mr. President has the power to sack or suspend a sitting governor or the assembly of a state. From all the provisions of the Constitution, it appears it doesn't have that power. So, but until the court, because the law is what the court said the law is. The law is. So until the court, pronounce on it, then we'll be able to know better. But as it were, the literal interpretation of the provisions of the Constitution is that Mr. President lacked the power to do what he did. But since that the state is militarized now, it will appear that the National Assembly, to me, I've said it in several fora or platforms, that before now, the National Assembly should have taken over, especially the House of Reps, should have taken over the function of the legislative house of that state, especially since there is controversy. The house was demolished. Only 4 people have to, assign, approve budget and all that. So you see, it's like a state of anomaly happening in Rivers. So until and unless something is done, and of course, and unfortunately to me too, I do not think even this state of emergency will settle the matter. I don't think so. Eventually, the warring factions still have to come to a round table to reach an amicable decision, settlement. The Constitution still gives Mr. President that power to extend it even for another 6 months. So, meaning that if care is not taken, we might be seeing a Rivers going into a 1-year military something in it.
All right. Thank you very much. Steve, back to you. Now, let's look at other state of emergencies that has happened in past administration. Let me quickly bring your attention to that of former President Olusegun Obasanjo, because some experts are even saying that what we are seeing today is the ripple effect of what Obasanjo did. I mean, in Plateau State in 2004, May 2004, President Olusegun, declared the state of emergency in Plateau State following the surge, in ethno-religious violence that led to widespread killings and destruction. Now, the governor and the State House of Assembly were suspended, and Major General Chris Ali, retired, was appointed as administrator. Also in Ekiti State, 2006, a leadership crisis in Ekiti State, prompted former President Obasanjo again to impose emergency rule on October 2006. I know the crisis stemmed from the controversial impeachment of former Governor Ayo Fayose, which plunged also the state into chaos, and retired Brigadier General Adetunji Olori was appointed administrator until the situation was stabilized. So, are there any similarities or difference? What is really happening? People are saying history is just repeating itself again. What's your thought about this?
That of Ekiti is more of a political upheaval. Probably the president was sympathetic. It's almost similar to what is happening in River State right now, where you find the president probably being a little bit sympathetic to one side of the divide than the other. That of Plateau State is virtually the same thing. And from what we understood as of then, the president wanted the governor out, and the House of Assembly were not really had something of that nature, and then he had to do. It's all down to the whims and caprices of the president. And like I said earlier, when I started when we started this interview, I said it's all what the president and his political party wanted. So for River State, so that's what we will get. I mean, there is no out of this, because if you ask and if you look deeply into this crisis from the beginning to the present situation where we find ourselves in a state of emergency, you will come to a conclusion that is this the only thing that can be done? Is the state of emergency the ultimate thing? And obviously the answer is no, the state of emergency is not the ultimate thing. Again, since you mentioned President Obasanjo, I remember, let me take it back to the year 2020, 2021 or thereabout. I think 2001, 2002 or thereabout, when he was president, where there were serious security challenges in the Delta State, where everybody was thinking that the president would declare a state of emergency. But what did the president do? The president simply sent soldiers in to go and snuff out the security challenge rather than declaring a state of emergency.
That's the case of Odili.
The case of Udi local government.
Udi, yes.
Yes. So that again shows you that those guys were attacking the same national assets that the president accused the governor of not being able to handle. But like I told you earlier on, the governor's title of a chief security officer of a state is just a mere title. It does not hold water on the ground. If you have a governor that cannot tell a police commissioner how to direct his men towards solving security crisis, how do you expect him to direct security in the state? More or less, when he is having crisis with the State House of Assembly and also the ruling party, the government is not really too comfortable with him in the first instance. So you can see that the president has a right to push in soldiers there and snuff out the issue while they are still working on things to sort ways of sorting out the other political arguments or issues on ground. But no, the president chose to okay, we are interested in this state, we want to take control of this state. Anyhow, Mr. Governor, you want to do it, you will do on your own. Therefore, this is the only last resort left. And they used it, and that's that. It's unfortunate, really.
Thank you very much, Steve Aya. Back to you, Folusho Lakpo, as we round up in less than a minute. I would like to ask, you said earlier on that the Constitution gives President Tinubu the powers to do this for 6 months, and even an additional 6 months if he so wishes. So my question now is, how do we transition? How does Rivers transition back to democracy? What is the process involved? Will Siminalayi Fubara be able to complete his term if it's possible? I mean, what way do you see out of this whole state of emergency? How do you see Rivers going back or returning back to normalcy?
Yes, first I expected either the House or the Mr. Governor to approach the court for the imperative for the enforcement of their rights. To me, I think the Mr. President does not have power to suspend them. Then two, I think really seriously too that the dramatis personae in this matter should have to sit down. There's no war that is won in the war front. Every war is won somewhere on a round table. politics is about discussions. Politics is about compromising.
Okay.
Politics is about alignment and realignment. So politics is about people agreeing and disagreeing. And to that extent, I think both dramatic personnel, both Mr. The honorable minister of FCT, and the Mr. Governor too, both of them should meet. At least they started well. No one knows when they were reaching agreement. Okay. No one knows when they were giving each other money to buy forms. No one knows when the things were good, when they were, pumping champagne together. No one, we were not there. Right. So they should think about the people of Rivers. Where two elephants fight, is the grass that suffers.
Yes.
It is the people of Rivers that are suffering now. So they must, bury their ego. They must bury whatever it is that at least some part of their interest is seen to the development of Rivers State.
And that is a safe place to land. Folusho Olakpo, thank you very much. Folusho Olakpo, you've been very brilliant. Thank you very much, Steve Aya. You have also been brilliant. And we all hope that Rivers State would be able to pull out of this crisis very soon, as quick as possible. But thank you very much.
So. Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome.
Very much for having me.
State of emergency is what we've been discussing this morning. State of emergency in Rivers with Folusho Olakpo, a public affairs analyst, and Steve Aya, journalist this day newspaper. This is where we'll round off the program On Record, where every word matters. Keep listening to High Impact 102.1 FM. Keep watching High Impact TV on Nikonsat 42 degree east. I am Olumide Shokoya. Enjoy the rest of your day.
The democracy has not given us peace, but we must tinker with our democracy.
I'm upset with my friend that came before me.
Oh.
Yes, I listened to him and he shocked me by turning things upside down.
Well, can I say something? Realize that we all have a right to our opinions. Yes. So that's his opinion.
This is On Record, where every word matters.
Then we avail you.
Foment, foment, foment.
Something big is in town. Something powerful and majestic. A mammoth creation destined to become a legend by all who encounter it. High Impact Planet, Nigeria's biggest family theme park, with facilities designed for friends, families, or large groups under a relaxing atmosphere. Be welcomed by wowing displays of animatronics, thrill out with realistic arcade games, or enjoy a number of thrilling heart-racing park rides. Experience the 5D and 12D cinemas, and challenge your mates with bumper cars and go-kart races. Don't forget to slide into the ice rink, or simply take time out to enjoy a pizza at our delightful restaurant and dessert spot, or at the exquisite club lounge. High Impact Planet, 12 Lagos Ibadan Expressway, Ibafo, opposite MFM
As a child, what is most important to you is love, warmth, acceptance, and security. But as you grow, there is a paradigm shift in the way you approach life. The interest you lose in some things, you pick in other things. Sometimes, the road is smooth. Other times, it is rough. Every step of the way,